Nicole
Yeah, she
from
was
high
here,
school.
yeah, she was here last
She was here last
month.
time for a
Yeah.
little bit in the beginning, and
Yep.
then we have Genevieve, she was, I think, absent last.
Yeah, she was
meeting.
coming
Okay,
back
cool.
from a vacation.
Not sure about today, haven't heard anything, so.
Oh, okay, yeah, I haven't heard.
All right, it's 6 o'clock, so I think we can get started. All right, so call for Affordable Housing Committee meeting, 6 p.m. on April 3rd, 2045. No public.
I have public comment,
Oh,
because I want to say for those the members that weren't here, oh, I was just going to sing your praises.
Just in time.
I was just going to say that Tanvi appeared at our last meeting, and if you want to just tell them what you said, only because some people weren't here
Okay,
last
yeah.
time, and I wanted to make sure they knew about it, because I'm really pleased about that.
Okay. So at my school, me and my peer, we're gonna start this Habitat for Humanity chapter, and we're still working through like the logistics right now, but we're looking in like maybe like sometime near the end of April, maybe early May, get that started. It's like a student-led initiative to kind of boost awareness for affordable housing, as well as actually volunteer at like restore sites or like build sites and kind of help like with this effort as students.
Great.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Great order.
And do you have
For them,
an advisor that's been involved with Habitat?
Yes, so our advisor is the civil engineering and architecture teacher, and part of that curriculum for that class is doing a project according to Habitat for Humanity guidelines for making an affordable house. So we thought he would be interested in that, and he's agreed that this is like a worthy initiative, so.
Great idea.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
We can, if you want to connect after this, my office is working on one through North Central Connecticut Habitat for Humanity.
Okay.
We're doing a build May 3rd,
Okay.
I believe. So I can just tell you a little bit. Like, we're in fundraising and coordinating process right now, so I can tell you a little bit about our experience with that. If you want to talk offline.
You still have some time left on your 3 minutes public speaking.
No, that's okay. Well, that was, I wanted to make sure others knew about that, because I'm very impressed by that, so.
Thank you.
And it's an important thing you're going to be doing.
Okay, so moving on, minutes from the March 6th meeting.
I was not here, so.
I'd like people to take some time to check it out.
Motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Well, they just got them today, and that's his
You
problem.
want to table that for?
I wasn't there, so,
I mean,
It was just.
yeah.
I'll motion to approve if somebody wants to second it, because, I mean, it looks like it's all there,
Yeah, or the
even though we
recording-
just got them.
Yeah, the recording secretary, she does the minutes from viewing the,
The video.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I'll second that. Am I able to second it even if I wasn't there and don't plan to vote?
I think it's preferable to
Okay.
have the people that were.
Yeah, you were here, so. Second it.
Yep.
All in agreement?
All right. Charlie abstains.
Yes.
Oh, here's Genevieve right now. Hello? Yes, hi. We do. That's up to you. That's, if she wants to be there, she can be here in 20 minutes.
I make a motion to
That's
move
up-
public speaking up so that she can speak.
Okay, yeah, okay. Well, no, she wants,
Oh, that's Jennifer.
Genevieve.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Withdraw.
Yeah, yeah. That's entirely up to you. Don't speed to get here. Okay?
Well, don't get.
Okay. Council Room.
I was gonna probably come all the way up here.
Okay,
Down
okay,
Old
bye.
Main Street.
Bye.
I know,
I'm like,
it's,
awesome.
I was
Like, big
pulling
guys.
out, I hadn't fucking done yet. I was like,
Sorry about that.
it's right by my house.
All right, so moving on, Housing Forum. So we have a date, which is April 30th, 6:30 PM. Location is the Town Council Room, which is right here where we are. So, in terms of the format and speakers, right, so for speakers, I think we have Susan coming in from the Housing Authority.
Yep, I need to just, I mean, she's on board, I just need to make sure she's,
Coming.
no, she is coming. She
Okay,
has the-
just give
She
her
has
the-
the date, she has the date,
And
and it's
just
just,
send out the agenda.
Yep.
Okay. And then we're gonna have representation from the Health and Human Services.
I did ask them, I haven't gotten confirmation.
Okay, so that's. All right. We're gonna have representation from CHFA. We already have confirmation from Marcus. He himself is not gonna be here, but he's gonna make sure there is somebody representing CHFA. And then we're gonna have representation from Washington Trust, which is a private lender. It's gonna be two people, Michelle and Stephen from Washington Trust. They did, Michelle did send over her presentation. These are the two packs on the,
And she did want us to
Send out.
take a look at it.
and she is open to suggestions in terms of like, you know, things that we can, if we want her to add, not, or take out from it.
To add but not take out?
Add or take out.
Oh, okay.
I mean, this is really, I see some of these things as far as, like the renting versus owning type thing. I mean, some of the basic stuff, I think people may not realize they need to know or don't even think about. But, I think we have to start with the basics, which is kind of,
This
you know,
one.
yeah, is start.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I felt like this was a little overkill, the second one that you had about, some of the lending program.
Well, I think that is good too.
I was gonna
I mean-
have her basically still present it, but keep it high level with, people can
Yeah.
have questions, they can hit it up,
Yeah.
or Stephen, you know, as part of the Q&A, because otherwise it's gonna be like too much information overload, like, you know, to kind
Yeah.
of like a 10-minute presentation.
Once you start getting in the weeds in terms of like, you know, ratios of this or that and everything, people just gloss over and everybody's individual finances are so different
Right.
anyway that.
So,
Will they have handouts or something? that-
I can ask them to
I mean, I
bring in,
don't know.
like, Stephen did mention to me that he's gonna bring in some material.
Okay,
I don't know what that material is, but, you know, he's at least gonna have some materials to give away. You know, when I go back to Michelle, I'm gonna tell her to focus on this presentation with like a very high level of the second one. So this way, people get a good idea of where they stand on the basics, or from the basics, and then whoever wants to go into details.
yeah, it's, I mean, when you, especially if you're buying your first home, I mean, it is scary.
Right,
It's kind of, you know,
but this might just scare
Ominous.
away more people, right? When they look at all this information, it's like, oh, wait.
Yeah, this stuff is
A little,
gets
yeah, a little
into
too,
the weeds.
yeah,
Yeah.
in depth. So, I can let Michelle know. Marcus is also, or not this, but was also asking about like format and stuff that we want CHFA to cover. So if anybody has any ideas and thoughts about, you know, what you would like to hear from CHFA, more so from a first-time buyer perspective, you know, we can definitely relay that feedback to him.
Isn't the CHFA CHFA, first-time buyer program administered by these private for-profit. Is that what Washington Trust is, their mortgage broker?
Correct.
Okay, and are they going to act as, are they going to speak as the agent for a first-time buyer loan processing for CHFA?
No.
That's not going to be something they're talking about?
Yeah, so they're not just singularly gonna focus on CHFA.
No, I'm not saying singularly, but that's a product that's available.
Yeah,
If you're
so-
not a first-time buyer, you're not going to, you know, that's a segment of the market.
Correct, so they're gonna address, focus is gonna be on first-time buyers.
Okay.
And so I think that's gonna be the focus of both CHFA as well as Wash Trust.
Okay.
Obviously, CHFA is not a direct lender, so that's when,
Not a what lender?
like CHFA is not gonna go and directly.
No, they don't
lend to
process
the- process,
themselves.
exactly.
They trust
So that's
someone
where,
to understand their
yeah,
procedures.
a lender comes into play because then, they can kind of like be more
Be
like
the
where they can
filter
help.
for it and so on.
With the loan processing, documentation, credit scores, and so on and so forth.
We also have to make sure, and I'll put on my meanie hat, we have to make sure that Washington Trust is aware that this is not an ad for Washington Trust. And they should even state so probably that, we're not selling our services, all we're telling you is the process to
Process.
do.
in place.
And I just think
Do they
that's-
have an office in Rocky Hill?
No, they have an office in Glastonbury,
Mm-hmm.
but, Tom chased.
I have Liberty Bank coming.
Oh, you do?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Do you have a person?
I don't remember her name, I spoke with her 2 hours ago again.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have her phone number on my phone, but I don't remember her name. Michelle Margaret.
Okay,
She's
if you can
an assistant
connect-
vice president.
Okay, somehow connect me to her, that way,
I'd be happy to.
okay, that way I can, yeah, I wanna make sure that,
The branch manager for the Liberty branch in Rocky Hills, super nice, super helpful.
Yeah, she's Gallo,
Yes.
Elaine Gallo.
Yeah, Elaine,
Oh.
yep.
okay.
I'm just, because they have a branch here, they're located here.
So, as, Tom mentioned, right, like he was chasing them, but finally he got a response 2 hours ago. So,
Oh, okay.
So if we have two similar entities coming, we wanna make sure that they're not necessarily saying the same things, per
I-
se.
I think, I think it helps us also not appear like we're putting any favoritism towards, like, this is our preferred person or something like that, if we have more than one, but,
Maybe
and
they
there's a
could-
difference between a
maybe-
bank and a broker,
Yeah,
too.
maybe they could engage in some sort of dialogue, their presentation could maybe be some sort of dialogue. They could reach out to maybe both and have it kind of be a conversation between the two of them.
And that's fine.
I don't
And
know.
There's enough
Yeah,
of a bulk of information that they could present. They could just, one could go so deep and the other one could take it from there. There's a lot of ways of doing it.
They, lenders are in a very competitive marketplace. We're in a strange time in that marketplace where there's not as much activity as there had been in the past. But someone like Liberty, they're looking to be helpful, making a mortgage, getting a deposit relationship, making a car loan, and all that collectively works. They're already a pretty large investor in the Rocky Hill community,
Yes.
certainly with
Yes.
Kelson Road, they're the primary lender on that. Washington, what is it called? Washington Trust?
Trust.
Their primary business is, they're gonna sell off their loans. They basically represent many lenders, maybe even Liberty. So I think that's fair to have them in the same room. That forces them to have services that are competitive. I think we should let them give their commercial if they want, not dominate the whole thing, but
Yeah.
it's sort of the quid pro quo of somebody coming and giving their time. I think their employers expect them to do a certain amount of, go out to the community.
There's outreach, yeah.
Yes. I don't see it.
I mean, I don't see any problem if they wanna do a couple of handouts, like, hey, remember us.
Here's my card, what's the
And,
problem?
and,
Right.
and if you know they're coming and you're gonna do some sort of publicity type thing, being able to say you have, in this, my limited knowledge, these two corporate lenders, gives it a lot more credibility, I think, and people may be more likely to come.
Well, and one thing with Washington Trust, they're a mortgage broker. They work with different banks. They might have different programs from different banks. And that's good because they've only done one CHFA loan this year. According to CHFA, they've only done one CHFA loan. As opposed to First World Mortgage, which is the top lender for CHFA, they've done 217.
In the calendar year?
January 1st to March 31st.
Very good.
It's on Chaffa's website.
Well, they only have one branch though in Connecticut, right, Washington?
They probably just have an office and they might just work mostly remotely. A lot of loan officers, that's what they do now.
Yeah.
Or they share office space or something like that, because you don't really need to go and sit down somewhere and
Yeah, most of it
and
is
process
online.
a loan. It's
Oh,
all
yeah.
online.
Like I would assume, most of the time you don't even meet your mortgage broker because
No.
everybody's either on the phone or
Well, yeah,
online.
certainly if you
So-
call a big bank like a Bank of America or something like that, they're gonna be in Michigan or something,
Yeah.
processing your Connecticut loan.
So I think I like the idea that you mentioned, right, when we reach out to them, we can let them know that please don't treat this as a promotional event, treat this as.
It's information and,
you're passing on it, it's an
goodwill.
educational event, not a promotional event.
You might get some indirect
Yeah. that
Which
might
they
be-
will
that may
anyways,
be
stuff
right?
out of it,
Yeah.
But I think that's plan, I mean, we got good representation, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different speakers.
Yeah.
I think after we need to talk about CHFA and what they concentrate on, or what we should
Yes, so that's
have them talk
next,
about,
right?
and then we'll talk to Marcus tomorrow.
Tomorrow or Monday, I think it's Saturday. But yeah, we can
Yeah.
communicate. So yeah, any suggestions on what you, as a first-time buyer, if you were you were in the industry, so you probably have some insight as to what a first-time buyer wants to know.
how much money do they need to have, and are they gonna qualify, what might they qualify for? That's it, because people just, that's the gist of it for the most
I
part.
think a lot of it is the procedure as well, that they should
Yes.
go and get pre-qualified, because the market is so quick.
Yeah.
And they need to know, well, what happens if the appraisal doesn't match the price they're offering.
Yeah,
There's a lot of.
those things are kind of more, but I think sometimes people do have questions about like that process. You can get way in the weeds about what if, how did this happen 20 steps down the road, what happens, but for the most part up front, people are like, how much money do I need to have? How long is this gonna take? What might I qualify for? What extra programs might be out there that I could qualify for? And, just can I do it? And, sometimes it's things like as simple as, what is PMI, private mortgage insurance? What is an FHA loan versus a conventional? Who is Fannie Mac? What is it, a weird name? What is it?
Well,
What are these
that's a lot of
things
this
even in
stuff
there?
over here.
This,
Yeah, I see
That's what a lot of
some
that
of
stuff
that
covers
stuff,
this.
yeah.
Um,
But CHFA, they did a great presentation for the council.
Yeah.
You were there.
Yeah. And
Was it
CHFA, a lot of
time?
the stuff that they talk about though is the money that they lend out to
To
like developers to close
developers.
gaps.
Yeah,
Um,
but we're talking about,
Yeah,
another thing
mostly,
about
yeah.
CHFA, their programs are all needs-based. So how can people take advantage of those? Sometimes people make too much money to qualify for them. Well, what's that cutoff? You know, when is it too much money? What if I have a ton of debt? Well, for CHFA, that's actually good because the program is needs-based, and so time to own gives you additional down payment money to help lower that debt to income ratio, but you still have to have some debt. But the problem is the more detailed you get, the more the eyes gloss over, and so most people just want to know, okay, well, what's next? Like, what's the
Yeah.
first thing I got to do? And give me the
Yeah.
broad scope. And then that's when they speak with a lender, they speak with a realtor, they, you know, figure
I
out
think
what's-
that kind of all goes into like get pre-qualified, right?
Yeah.
That's when you,
Honestly, the more information you give somebody, the more scared they're going to be. too.
Yeah.
You know.
But I
at
think some
point
of their
they go,
programs,
"Oh,
right, like
home
like
insurance
time to
would-"
Yeah.
own, stuff like that. I think if they can harp on those programs, that something
Yeah.
people will take away.
Tell them
saying,
about
"Oh,
how time to own works.
um,
You know, that's a great one. You know, how they determine who qualifies for what. And how it's funded,
right.
you know? And maybe at some point in here, how that also helps the town when somebody uses a CHFA loan versus a conventional loan. Because it helps, ultimately, it helps our affordable housing numbers.
Now, the housing authority, obviously, they're gonna be very particular and explain their process and what's required there and what their qualifications are and how that works. And their waiting list and I know you're aware, you know.
How do people get on the list?
Yeah, how do you get on the list, when the list closes, when it opens up, that type of thing. And then Human Services, I was thinking, renter rebate. and those.
Yeah, that'll be a good, because that'll cover the people who wanna rent versus, you know, I think all the other speakers are more towards ownership.
Hmm.
So, that should be a good coverage. And we're gonna limit speaking time to 10 minutes. Less?
Yeah.
Sure.
No, that sounds, yeah, that sounds.
10 minutes is, I think.
Because that's
the-
still 50 minutes for 5 people.
Right,
That's still an hour.
which is, I think.
And then a
you
half
know,
hour Q&A with the whole group or something like that, you
something,
know?
yeah.
By then
So,
everybody's
10 minutes max.
gonna be sore from sitting.
Max, min-max.
Max. In terms of the order, do we need to kind of come up with,
I think it's based upon, based upon topic. I mean, we might want to start with the, you know, the housing authority and renters and work our way into. Hey, how are you?
I apologize. if
Welcome back home.
Yeah, I had to silence my phone this afternoon, so then I didn't hear my pager go off telling me I had a meeting.
so can we
all
just go
good.
housing authority, HHS, CHFA, Washington Trust, Liberty?
That's the list of quick.
Yeah, I mean, because, you know, I'm just going by like, you know, who confirmed the very first and.
Yeah, because I
that, like-
mean, these are kind of renting, these are rentals.
Yeah, 1
here.
and 2, and then CHFA starts. They were
With
the
the
first
types
one
of
to confirm
programs.
availability, and
Yeah.
then
And
Washington,
then-
and then Liberty.
Okay.
And you gonna reach out to all 3 of them with kind of like speaking time, and then Mark just would.
Yeah,
Topics to
I need
cover.
information from.
You'll have that.
Okay,
Get you their card.
you know where to find me?
I'll try to, I'll hunt you down, you know?
Okay. I'll be in tomorrow. And I have Michelle's email.
You have Michelle's email, yes, you
So-
CC'd on it, and you have Marcus's email.
So, yeah, we may, either you and I may get on a conference call.
Yeah, that works.
What time?
Except 10 and 12, 10 and 11, but questions in terms of speakers, content.
We should go and check.
So, yeah, that's right.
That's
We have the
okay.
housing forum, 4:30, April 30th, at 6:30 PM right here in the town council room. We're gonna have speakers from Housing Authority, Health and Human Services, CHFA, Washington Trust, and Liberty Bank.
That's awesome.
So we did discuss like, some of the do's, don'ts and stuff that we want them to cover. 10 minutes speaking time for each one of them. 15 minutes to an hour. And yeah, that's where we are so far. That's how far we got.
Sounds great.
So moving on, refreshments, oh yeah, very important.
Well, we have refreshments and advertising. I mean, I'll kind of lump them together. I know when we were meeting down in the community center, room 1C, John Murphy, once again, I can't say enough good stuff about this guy. He did offer for some assistance with respect to that. He does put things on Facebook for us, on the town website. Social media is probably the best way, word of mouth, announcements. I know we did a mini flyer when we asked for people that were interested in this. It looked like an ad. I'm gonna go back and kind of resurrect that and see if we can maybe use that. I'll run it by you folks. So what I might do though is I might email you 2 at a time, so there's not a quorum. That's what I tend to do, or email separately, so there's no.
Can't you put just like this is what we do at work, in the title, we put it 2 stars internal, which means any communication or that communication cannot be subpoenaed. Because it's internal. No, it's true.
It's,
Did a lawyer make this
Yes,
up?
yes.
no.
Because we do some stuff that, can be asked for, so, that's how we do it, so.
Technically,
FOIA is a little bit different than.
yeah,
something.
yeah.
No, I know,
So
but like,
technically-
just put like,
I mean,
not a
this isn't
meeting
any
or-
great controversial
doesn't
thing,
constitute
but
a
you're talking
quorum.
to someone that's been in court too many times because of many different issues in this town. So I will do it that way.
Send it to a firm, makes sense.
That's what I'm gonna do.
I
It
just
doesn't matter.
on her number of emails. but that's
No,
all.
it's cut and paste. Cut and paste, it's okay. I'd rather just do it that way then.
But back to the advertising, where are you gonna advertise?
So, one option was to put an ad in Ray Reminder.
Mhm.
Social media, I think each one of us can,
If it gets put up by the town, we can easily share,
Yeah, we have,
Right.
I mean, and
put it on the light up sign,
the electronic
wherever that is.
electronic
But
billboards.
who do we perceive as the consumer of the information
That's
from
the
this
Because,
meeting?
yeah, I mean, these
Who are
would
we
be people
trying
that may live in town, may have grown up in town, or people that would like to live in town.
yeah.
And we're not getting them from, our website necessarily if they live in town.
We could
So-
share them out to area
We can,
towns too.
I mean, is
Invite
there
them to
still a
the meeting.
patch? Do they still cover the town?
It's like self,
it's
Um,
not,
self-publishing, there's not really like somebody who like
it's not a big,
monitors it and administers it.
And what's the paper called? It used to be the,
we have Rocky Hill Life, that comes out once a month.
Once a month.
Yeah,
so
and we're
that's-
probably,
that's
well, we might make
But
the
I might-
deadline for
I might-
April.
I might check
I
with,
mean, they're always looking for content.
Yeah.
yes, I know.
I bet if you
Maybe
reach
as
out
a
to Mark,
follow-up
Yeah.
to the meeting,
Hmm?
maybe as a follow-up to the meeting, they could put an article in the.
Well, I think we're
like-
trying to get
Well, if
people
you do
to
it
come
here.
to.
This one
Want
is
it-
more to get
We
people
want it
in for
first,
the
then
event,
we
yeah.
need to do it.
yeah, I think Rare Reminder will probably be the most likely way to actually get it out in time. Cause I don't know when the print deadlines are for life.
But we can, that's easy
How
to
about the
find out.
electronic sign in the middle of town?
Oh, those you can get on, yeah. it's easy.
Okay, I mean, it just,
That's
if you're gonna have it, then I think there should be a fairly strong effort in trying to
Yeah.
get people to come. I don't know how anybody gets information anymore. Sometimes things
know.
pop up as a banner on my iPad. I'm thinking, well, that's pretty good. What did they have to pay for that?
Something.
But there's-
Something more than our budget.
The public, not the public television, but a lot of the things like Google and so on, don't they have community funds that they're supposed to be putting back into, sort of pro bono back into things? I
So
don't
there
know.
are Facebook pages, right, for like Rocky Hill Community.
Oh, there's
Yeah.
many.
Many of them. So I think once we
Many,
have an
many.
electronic copy, I think that's gonna be the most efficient way to advertise to a lot more people, because, you know, you can
Find
just
names.
Yeah, there's-
refresh that post every day, every other day, so, you know, it just keeps popping up on the first few clicks that, you know, any user's gonna go.
So
There's
did-
enough
did-
of those groups.
Are there opportunities on the Zillows and Redfin and all of that?
No.
There's no way that you can put a public service announcement on any of those?
Not that I'm aware of.
You know, because don't those get the greatest amount of hits for people and looking at real
And
estate?
they're expensive to advertise on. Yeah.
I doubt they're gonna be,
If it's free for you, somebody's paying.
Sure.
yeah.
Is there a way that
I
we
mean,
can
it's-
guesstimate how many people will show up?
I think if we
It-
create it as an event on Facebook, then we'll be able to track how many people said interested, and that will, interested or going, that will give us a
Or
good
you could
idea
have
how
them
many people.
contact somebody, you can have a phone number they can contact, it won't be me. It'll be.
But I think even
Maybe
without
one
the
of our
phone,
admins, maybe.
we can, you know,
Yeah.
people can comment
I
on
don't
that
mind
event.
fielding that kind of stuff.
But then
Careful
you're
what
not-
you wish for.
No, then your number's out there, I don't know if that
Oh,
you want.
don't
Yeah, I think if we just create it as an event,
As an
Yeah.
event, and people can just comment on it if they have
Yeah.
any questions, and then, you know,
Interested, not
and- and
interested.
puts
You'll
the post
see.
in
But,
high
but you
back.
should say, for questions, call, and there should be a person they can talk to, because I wanna make sure.
I mean, as a,
No, I'm not kidding, right?
no, but questions, have an email
Yeah,
address.
yeah.
Yeah, any questions, you know, either email
Or it could be land use, because we have a catch-all category for
Yeah.
land use commissions, and that's where like we're doing a community survey for the planning conservation development, that's where those responses go, but I have that directory too, so.
Yeah.
That would be a
go
good
there.
idea.
That might be the way to do it.
Yeah,
and
and
as
a lot of
real-
social media people are just gonna write, you know, write on the event, like under the
Yeah.
comment section, like, hey, what is this event for?
And
Or
I-
if
I'm
it
a
gets,
member
if it
of all
gets a
of
bunch of
those.
likes and all
Yeah.
that, that's kind of a good way to gauge. If you
Gauge
put out an
how many
event
people are
and nobody
planning to
said they're
come.
even interested, then even though, you know, it went out to a group of 3,000 people, then you're like, ugh. But if a ton of people say they're going or they are
Yeah.
interested, like I just created an event for something and there's like 25 people said interested, 5 people are going. I'm like, all right, good. We're probably gonna have at least 10 people there.
Yeah.
As a real estate agent, how do you reflect upon
Well,
this
we want
opportunity?
Conversation, yeah, just 'cause of-
What do you mean?
I mean, if you had someone who was coming to you who was a first-time buyer or thinks they're interested in buying a home in Rocky Hill, would you encourage them to attend this meeting?
Yeah, I would, especially if Chaffa's gonna be there and a lender's gonna be there, talk about that process. You know, I would still have, if somebody came to me, I would still have a one-on-one, you know, consultation with them, but if they're just like general questions or something like that, I'd say, yeah, go to this event.
So, I mean, how would you react to the idea, why don't we contact the active brokers in the town of Rocky Hill to say, we're having this event, in the long run, it may be beneficial to you and your business. We would like you to recommend people to come. I mean, does that have any value?
What I would say is, once we have the event that's shareable,
To the
it'd be-
chamber, too.
it would be easy to share it to the chamber. it would be easy to share it in, I don't know if you remember the CT Real Estate Professional Facebook group, which is sometimes a dumpster fire, but there's like 20,000 people in that group.
Yeah.
So it's every agent.
Yeah,
You know,
I
everywhere.
might have gotten out of it for that reason.
Yeah, I might snooze it every once in a while,
Yeah.
but in the Greater Hartford Association of Realtors, certainly, you know.
Yeah, I mean, just. a
Yeah,
suggestion.
yeah, no, that's a good point.
When do you think he could have some like e-file or e-flyer ready?
Well, I would be doing flyer. He would
Okay.
be doing flyer. But we have a basis based upon when we created this committee, and I saw that. I don't have it with me, but, so we can, I need some more specificity on these folks' names and make sure I got them correct. I don't know if it's gonna be Elaine that's coming, or I could just say,
Elaine is not.
Yeah, I
I
would
don't-
think
I
she
don't
would come,
know.
but
No, the vice president
Who-
of Liberty Bank of
but,
Mortgage.
okay,
That's
so
who it's coming.
I need some information on who that person is. Is it Michelle and somebody
Michelle and
else?
Steven both are gonna be here.
Okay, so I have her name.
Steven's name is part of that email
Okay,
chain
and
somewhere,
then
yeah.
CHFA, we're gonna need to find out who that's
Who
gonna
does
be,
speak
and human
both
services, and once we have that information, we can just put it in the.
Yeah, the way, because the reason I ask is like, you know, say by the end of this week, if we have it, that gives us about 3 weeks to,
The end of this week is tomorrow.
just middle of next week. That gives us about 2 weeks, 2.5
Yeah,
weeks
yeah,
to spread the word, which I think would, at least the minimum amount of time we would need to.
And would anybody here think that having Carrie Zeps there would be helpful? Does it give it some weight to?
Some.
I don't see that as an advantage in the situation.
I think we would want her to be a voice after we figure out, get the input from the meeting on the 30th. Because she's a good voice.
we can certainly invite her, but I don't know if as a speaker, it adds value to what we're trying to do, you know?
Yeah, I don't know what the legislature is doing. I mean, she may have some input as to.
Well, this
you know,
was,
some of the-
more for this
Yeah,
wasn't
this
for
was us.
forum
Yeah.
per se, this is more
But,
for
yeah. But even if.
your information, but.
And even them, I mean, obviously, she's on the insurance and real estate committee, she's the chair. But,
I think it's a courtesy, even if
Yeah.
she's not going to be a speaker or something.
yeah, I mean,
Hopefully
it's-
she'll see it and want to come.
I think we should definitely extend the invite to the town, the Rocky Hill Town Council. If they wanna come.
Council or mayor.
And
We're gonna-
mayor, yeah.
we just invite I mean, everybody's invited,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
Whether they get another 10 minutes to talk,
Budget season.
probably not, but.
No,
I'm not advising that.
no. I mean, this is more for them to come and, you know, just
Yeah,
be
we
part
should-
of something that we don't do in
Yeah.
the town, not, has nothing to do
Well, but
with
if,
the
I
town.
think if our public, town leaders are aware of it and come as passive participants, it gives, I think, more weight to the idea that this is a problem that's been identified and this is a step to hopefully make us all bigger, better, bolder, brighter, new and improved.
Sure.
I think that like in terms of advertising, we could definitely look at like printing out flyers and giving them to the library. Because I know a lot of people like visit the library, people maybe who are interested in this, like have flyers around the library, some extra available with some contact information for whoever, wherever they can reach out and ask more details about
It's
this.
a good
event.
idea. What do you think of grocery stores?
Yeah, like Big Y or something, yeah, that could work too. Physical copies are always good, I think.
okay, so I need names and numbers for some of these folks. One of them I have.
school,
Yeah.
who knows? Some of their parents might be interested to come in and see what's going on.
Yeah, we're gonna rely on you to educate the school population about that.
Of course.
All right.
So refreshments, obviously, it depends, I'm thinking very simple. I mean, right now, I have to ask Ray that we're in a budget freeze right now. It's what they typically do every time we have a budget set, budget time of year, they put the town into a spending freeze. Yeah, which they do, and then it's like you have to go before the tribunal to get money for things. So I said, you will release some funds for refreshments for this activity because.
Petty cash, it's gotta be petty cash.
It's gotta be
Does
something.
the town have an official beggar?
What, a beggar?
Yeah, I mean.
I've been known to do that.
Are you volunteering? Well,
Additional tile in that.
I've begged a lot in town, but there may be West Side, other food retailers. Basically, the idea of the town continuing to have positive real estate values, people moving
Yeah.
here, and so on, is really the ultimate goal, is that we all do better if there's sort of an onward going, the old idea of the United States of America. And to ask 3 different people,
Like a donation.
a donation, can you give us
Can you give us so many
beverages?
cases of
And-
water?
And you do it
or
the way they
something
did
that
the
you do.
Vietnam
Yeah.
Veterans Memorial. They went to each state and they said, you're the last state to commit. Meanwhile, they were doing that to
To
each
each
state.
state.
And so you go
Good
to
idea.
West Side and
All
say,
the other
you know,
grocery stores have given us something.
but first of all, what are the refreshments that you want? So then we can sort of figure out how to go and beg. You want something to drink?
I think what you
Something-
started with, minimal.
Cookies
Because
and
we're not
water.
trying to feed
Yeah,
them.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
it's not a meal, it's not dinner time, so it's
6:30,
like.
they probably should have already had dinner.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
So
it's
what,
like
are you looking for
cookies,
cookies?
like Tracy's cookies,
Yeah, all right,
and,
so-
and water and soda, seltzer,
Yeah.
that type of thing.
So we're gonna send the Italian guy to Mazzucato's or whatever is over there.
You're not,
I don't know. It's just a suggestion. If it comes down to, we're looking for the taxpayers to squeeze out $5.
No, I understand being one myself, I understand.
We could also ask Liberty Bank to, we can say refreshments contributed by Liberty Bank. They have money set aside for all those kinds of things. I don't know. Suggestion.
Anybody wants to reach out to any stores in the next 10 days and let Kim know the commitments you can get? Cookies, water.
Actually, the best person for doing any of this is Rita. She's phenomenal at fundraising and whatever, she can, I don't know if you know.
It's the accent.
No, she's very good at that.
That-
But that's the
That
department
accent
that does
helps.
that.
Like, oh, it just sounds so proper.
We're not a department that does that, nor should we do that, because then we beat them up for violating zoning, so we can't do that.
Like, come on, really? I gave you those cookies.
We'll have the assessor go and ask.
Oh, that'll work.
Yeah. Remember when we gave you those cookies?
So,
Let me park my truck in front of it.
I'll talk to Alondra about that. I'll talk to her economic development person, maybe.
If
All right.
anybody goes, please let Kim know. And me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can make 2 people, so you can let us know.
I'm not a member, so
Okay.
I'm not a,
Who else wants to be on the
just
refreshment?
I'm just a.
In charge.
I'm a know what I am.
Recorder.
I don't know what I am, it's okay.
Many hats.
If you get some commitments while you're grocery shopping, sure. Bring it.
Yeah. I can't volunteer to beg for food because I have to do that for election time.
No, we'll figure it out. I can, I'm sure my wife knows because of her PTO activities, like, you know, same thing, they go
Yeah.
begging, like looking for cookies, for
Oh,
bake
then so
sale.
she knows what
So
she's
she
doing.
might know, and
She
I
might
can
know the
have,
spot. She might know
yeah,
the spot.
She might
and
know
have
what
her
to
go
do.
reach out and contacts again. Alright, so this is
POCD. Where are we at?
We have a drafty draft done. I have to put a few more things into it, and it'll be online, but, we, Planning and Zoning Commission, has been meeting, we do have a survey that is out on the town website.
What are we up to now for respondents?
It's between, well, I didn't check today, because it was not the day for me to.
Yeah,
be on the
you don't need to look now.
Yeah, but, last I knew it was somewhere between 225 and 250. That wasn't too bad, considering.
Yeah.
It's a series of questions, and there are some open-ended questions. And we're getting a lot of comments on housing affordability, not only for, they want more affordable housing for seniors, but they also want more affordable housing for people just starting out,
Yeah, what was
which
the-
was interesting.
What was
And
the question for that? Was there a specific question around housing options, or was that one of the open-ended ones?
that was one of the open-ended ones. So I found that interesting, especially from the age group, the age group talking about housing for younger folks were the parents' age.
Oh, yeah.
So the parents were saying, hey, it would be nice if our kids,
It'd be nice if my 35-year-old.
it'd be nice if my kids
would
could
get out of
live
the house.
nearby. And so that was nice. The age range was from the lower 20s to the mid-90s. So it was a good range of folks that, you know,
Everybody.
it was a good range of folks. Primarily 40s through 60s that were the respondents.
How many people responded? Like, what was the
Between,
percentage?
between 220, 225, 250, somewhere in there so far. So, yeah, John Murphy also is the one that kind of dumps them all into that land use commission directory,
Mhm.
and then we pick them up there. It was like a 50-50 split on, you know, we want to see apartments on Route 3 versus no more apartments anywhere. Or take down the apartments, you know, the 20-year plan is remove the apartments. So it's a very interesting,
But it was 50-50 in favor of apartments and 50 and not?
well, it depends on where you are. I mean, everybody wants apartments on Cromwell Avenue, it seemed. And they want that walkable community on Cromwell Avenue. But they want, you know, slow down apartment construction. So then, but they talked about tiny houses, those came up.
Yeah.
Tiny houses came up, not a lot, but it did come up. It did come up at our POCD meeting last evening. Tiny houses, do we want to take a look at that? Could tiny houses be used as accessory dwelling units on property under a current regs? Yes, they could, if you have a house that's large enough, so you could certainly do that. So that came up. I'm trying to kind of just concentrate on the housing
Yeah.
types of
Yep.
issues, since that's your.
So we'll have a draft that will be visible to the public relatively soon.
Yes.
And that same draft is what's sent on to CROG.
Yes,
And-
that will be revised.
Right. And we have.
And one of the things I'm hoping to do is do a biannual review of the POCD. So, because it was such a crunch time this go around, that we'd like to have another a shot.
But after the draft one, do we have like another special meeting or public hearing about
You're
it
gonna-
before it's ratified or
Yeah,
something like that, right?
we have that in public hearing.
Yeah.
Yes, that's gonna be in June. But it was left open-ended as far as when our next special meeting would be.
Yeah. We got
I
other,
said, you have to give me,
we got other
you have
stuff
to
to worry
give me,
about now.
you have to give me 48 hours notice for an agenda.
yeah,
Just make sure I know that, and then we can get that out, so.
yeah.
So, that's moving along, so you will be notified when that is going to
Okay.
be online,
Yeah.
be
Yeah, I would say
linked on Facebook.
there's a whole section of that on affordable housing, right? In the POCD. Is the
There
affordable housing plan in the POCD?
It's as an appendix.
Okay.
Yes, the affordable housing plan is through 2027. Yeah.
So I would just say, once that draft is out, we should all kind of review how it talks about affordable housing and see if there's any other input that we want to provide before the final, whether that's at public comment,
2-year update.
before it's, ratified in June or whatever, when we have a public hearing about it.
And then one of the things this committee should also be thinking about is at the end of the document of the Plan of Conservation and Development, there's a section for Plan Implementation Committee. And it would be nice if we had a representative down the road from this body that would serve on that committee. And we talk about more things than housing, talk about a lot more different things than housing.
When was the last time that PIC met?
Well, they stopped meeting because we were busy doing something else, like the plan,
Right.
so so it's been a while.
Like, how long a while?
I don't
6 months or 3 months? 1 month?
Probably more than 6 months.
Like a year or something, yeah. It's been, because I don't remember the last time we had a PIC meeting.
On the
Oh, no, I wasn't,
Oh,
but,
oh, okay. No, we used to have a lot of people, department heads or whatever that would come in, and I suggested that we reconfigure it differently, so there's a core team, and then as we're discussing, typically they break it down into small chunks instead of, you can't look at everything at once. So what's our focus now? And let's get that process going, and then once that's going, okay, we start a different focus, and then follow through with that other. So depending on who we need, say it's a Parks and Rec issue, something to do with a park or something to do with maintenance, whatever, we would bring in probably Craig Bowman, Director of Parks, to sit with the group. Or if it was a Public Works issue, we'd bring in that, department head, rather than have them sit at every meeting like they did in the past. It made no sense. People just dropped off. So we'll have a core team, and then we'll.
because it's a big committee, right? There's a bunch of people.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
It was. So that's gonna be reconfigured in this plan. There'll be a core team, and then we'll branch out as needed, so.
So next meeting is 4:30.
I have a question, if I may. The request that we sent up to the council to send a request to the state saying that we were interested in that property, did the council receive that?
That went to Ray.
And
That went to Ray.
Ray is sitting on it? And I don't mean that as derogatory.
No, it's not.
I know he's
to
busy,
me.
yeah.
It's not to me, so.
How
I
should
know
we
there
follow
was-
up on that?
I can certainly do that. I know he said that went before them in the past.
We're aware of it, yeah.
Went before them in the past, so. I may have something on my phone, I don't know.
All right, because,
Check.
and the reason I bring it up, just to stay on it, but also because Carrie left us with the impression that she might be able to use a magic wand and get that land granted to us. And she told me that all she needed was an email from the town saying that we were interested. I stop my statement there because that's all I really know.
We need to seize that opportunity.
I
It's
think
been
it's
a
a
while.
huge issue. I'm glad you brought it up, because I was gonna bring it up on the, any other. I perceived it as something that had a reasonable probability of providing affordable housing in the town of Rocky Hill. You know, it's not a bad piece of dirt. The state who's forcing this policy upon every town in the state is the owner of the land, and they have a motivation to play nice. I would hate to see that, you know, it's sent to Ray. At least he ought to have the courtesy to get back to us to say, no, we looked at it and we reject it, and then we know, rather than, you know, you're giving up your extra non-existent minutes of your life. We're here. You know, we can have a forum and tell people about stuff, but it'd be really nice to tell people, well, we're gonna be developing so many houses that will be for rent or for sale on that land. I mean, it's real. I'd work on the real thing. I'm less motivated to work on, you know, the concepts of housing and so on. Because I don't think that is likely to help as much as actually having a piece of dirt, going out, and I'll go personally beg to Liberty Bank and every other bank to say, look, we need you to commit to fund one house, one mini, whatever we're calling them. And that's real. And if we're stuck because Ray's afraid to ask the council.
We don't know.
you know.
I will,
We don't necessarily know that, but,
I will
you know,
check.
Okay, but in the absence
It's
of
been a
knowing
while,
anything,
'cause it's been a while.
let's throw
Yes, it
rocks.
has.
it has been.
And we need new development that will, we can say this is all affordable housing, otherwise we're never gonna move up to 10%, which is our goal.
And the state is reconfiguring, there's a affordable housing strategy being put together by Capital Region Council of Governments at regional levels, where they're taking this legislation about the 10%, and they're giving it to each, like, regional planning agency, and saying, okay, you folks come up with a housing strategy as to how you're gonna divide your housing units amongst your region.
And it
Because
makes more sense.
some towns are saying, hey, we have 2-acre zoning, we're not doing it,
Right.
you know, and that's not us.
yeah, I think there's,
But
the fair
there's-
share
Yeah,
bills have been
that's going
kicking
back
around the
and
legislature
forth.
for a while, but I don't know
Yes.
if one has gone to the floor for the General Assembly, but,
No, I think they're working on it.
but I know the Housing Authority is getting a lot closer to have, you know, potential plans for putting more units there too.
Yes.
Right.
And
Yeah. They
that's,
received the
that's something
grant.
that's,
Right.
they received the grant to do the
Yeah.
plan. And, you know, if they have a plan, then they can shop it around to developers. So that's one other thing that is tangible.
Yeah,
That we're gonna be able.
I just think in
talk
terms
about
of a
stuff.
dialogue, the state said you had to have affordable housing committee for each town by a date certain. Rocky Hill created one.
Affordable housing plan.
A plan, but it also required a committee to do all the stuff that we're doing. We're here because the state wants us to be here. If we had a plan,
That was
why
in
did
the
we need a
plan.
committee?
That was in the plan, to
Yeah, the
create
committee was in
affordable
Yeah,
housing.
okay,
Right.
so, but
Exactly
the
right.
point is here is the first, it's I think a reasonable request to do it. If this one's not gonna get a response from us to the town managers and council, then why would we send another one? Why would we do anything? I just think that there needs to be better communication, so that it's been X months.
Yeah, at least a couple months.
Can we sort on, on an iPhone? My primary phone is an Android.
MC?
Yeah,
Ken?
I think so.
Is there a search
Yeah.
at the top? Right here. And put in a name.
I think all the searches are from, unless you
I
change
think
it
there
to
is a
two.
way, there is a way to
I
do
like it.
content as well.
Well, let's try.
That work?
Thank you. You can be my new IT person.
Yeah. You don't wanna be your IT person.
You want his son or daughter to be right.
Okay, my wife, probably yes. Me, no.
Yeah.
All right.
Alright, so moving on, obviously our next meeting is April 30th for the Housing Forum. And then we have May 1st on the agenda for the next meeting. I'm gonna recommend that we cancel that meeting, given that we're gonna be meeting,
It's gonna be the day
Day
before.
before.
We're gonna be here the day before that.
yes.
I'll second.
Yeah.
Alright, all in agreement? Okay. And.
Do we wanna just cancel May altogether, or do we wanna push it to another week?
For now, let's just cancel May
Okay.
altogether. It's gonna be literally like the meeting the day before, and then
Yeah.
we have the next one June 5th, so it's close enough.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Perfect, yeah.
And unless anybody has anything else,
Has the state updated our numbers for 2024 yet?
I don't have that.
Yeah.
No.
I didn't know
That
if it
comes
came
out-
up in the, I don't know if it came up in the POCD when we're updating all the numbers and stuff. Cause the last percentage that I saw was for 2023. Still. Okay.
Do we have is there a new housing commissioner?
Okay, well, I didn't even go over that. This was,
I don't think Elms Commons.
pardon?
I think it's, I'm saying it's wrong because Elms Commons, in my opinion, is not affordable housing.
No, I think it was built that way, but I don't think it.
But
are
it's
they-
no longer, there's no longer an agreement, they don't process,
I have two.
income-based,
They don't have any Section 8 people that stay there at all?
they may have one or two that are a certificate, but it's not a property-based section.
Right, but that's still in the state numbers. I just mean, cause the way that they figure out that percentage is, anybody with a voucher, so any Section 8 or any of those.
I'm not talking about section.
Well, that's in the affordable housing percentage.
Yeah.
They have, it's certain loans, it's rental vouchers, it's housing authority, and deed restriction.
It doesn't have
But I'll
a deed
check.
restriction.
Right.
My computer.
And it didn't in those numbers either.
Yeah, it did, it was included. 115 or 150 units. Subtract that out, and you have a substantial decrease.
so, motion to adjourn?
Second?
Yep.
All in favor?